as they go through that squashing of the beef, Nick points out something very important that I think everybody needed to hear, which is this concept of a limited hangout, which is kind of what I was describing before with Dave Smith being promoted as the figurehead for talking about being Israel critical. It is only because the establishment, and I'm talking about figures as large as Joe Rogan, the single largest podcast in the world, when they realized the war crimes going on in Israel with America's support were very unpopular, they have to essentially have some kind of pressure release valve and allow the conversation to happen to some extent without it boiling over. And so they got to find who it is that we're going to allow to talk about this that we can trust to not divulge the whole situation, to not go too far on it. And so this concept is called a limited hangout. It's a CIA tactic. You can look it up on Wikipedia, where they are forced to confess at least part of the truth, but there is still an intentional withholding of all of the facts. And this was true. You saw this especially with like the JFK assassination. You see this with various conspiracy theories. You saw it with the Epstein files. And it's currently happening with Israel and the Jews, where now it seems to be okay. Even last night, I just saw Tucker Carlson at a Turning Point USA event, who is funded by Israel, who sends its Turning Point USA ambassadors to Israel to tour Holocaust museums and to go and hump the Wailing Wall and get taught by a rabbi about the historical persecution of Jews. Tucker Carlson was at a Turning Point USA event just last night talking about how the Epstein files are obviously implicating Israel and the Mossad in being in bed with our government, blackmailing our politician, blackmailing our leaders of industry in the sciences, in the media, in academia, everywhere, in the banking, obviously. And so Tucker, also a controlled opposition CIA agent, it is his responsibility to successfully manage the limited hangout of the Jewish question, to make sure that the gates are tightly drawn around. This whole problem is a problem tied to the foreign nation of Israel. And it is because they are a foreign nation, that is why we have a problem with it. It has nothing to do with them being Jewish. And it has nothing to do with other Jewish people who aren't necessarily living in Israel. This is a matter of a foreign nation having too much influence in our country, especially their intelligence agencies, but also how they drag us into these wars, how they lobby our politicians to advocate for more foreign aid and various things that are Israel's interest, but maybe not the best interest of America.